Okay.
All right. Well, welcome to the first Friday night of the 2001 high school football season. Kind of a little bit of a busy night, not as quite as busy as it normally is due to some game cancellations. But Adam Robinson, my name's Lee Horton, and this is joining me is Adam Robinson, who covered the game between Winthrop, Monmouth, and Halldale, and Bucks,
Bucksport.
which was Bucksport was the 2019 Class D runner-up, and
Yeah.
they won. And Winthrop beat Bucksport 41-20 today. So
Yeah.
what was kind of the key to Winthrop's win?
Well, I think it was both the offense and defensive line. Everything I asked Coach Dave St. Hilaire after the game, whether it's how did you stop Bucksport's three running backs that they brought back from the 2019 team. He was worried about how they would run over their team if they would. It came back to the defensive line shutting it down, and a lot of that defensive line plays on the offensive line. And then when I asked about how they got 249 rushing yards, mostly with Dom Trott and Logan Baird, he went back to the offensive line. He's got a couple. I think he has just two offensive linemen that played in 2019, and then the other three are newbies. They're big, but they're newbies. So he was really nervous. Even just a week ago, he said he was scared about how they would play. But they were calling out blocks and calling out coverages, something that they barely did during practice, and they led the way today to Winthrop's pretty big win, convincing win. I mean, it was a 3-touchdown win, and it was every bit of a 3-touchdown win tonight.
It's kind of funny how we used to do this in the office, and we were wearing I don't know, better clothes, but now we're both in t-shirts.
Yeah.
I was just realizing that we look kind of bad. I'll try to dress up next week. So you're talking about the offensive line. When I read the previews, they have a huge offensive line because he's got like a couple of 280-pound guys.
Yeah.
And Jacob Umberhind, is that how you say
yeah.
He's like 300 and something pounds, but also very athletic. So looks like their line definitely had some potential this year. And
Umberhind is really athletic. When you watched him, I watched him at practice yesterday for a while, and he can move. He's agile, he's quick, and a lot of their stuff came from his side, the left side. And then their two tackles are just massive human beings, but they're young, so he was nervous about that. But it all worked out today. A lot of cramps today, a lot of injury timeouts of cramps, and Bucksport may have lost a linebacker to a pretty serious knee injury, but a lot of stoppages. But the line really kept the game going for Winthrop, and really was the difference on both sides.
Okay.
Yeah, and they have a senior quarterback, Andrew Foster, who made his first start of his career. He won the quarterback battle this offseason. And he did what he had to do. He didn't really turn the ball over. Had a quarterback sneak for the first touchdown that Winthrop scored. And it really wasn't even the play call, but he saw right in front of him that the spot was open, took it, scored, and then he also threw a touchdown and managed the game best he could, and proved that he can be the quarterback for I think probably a pretty good Winthrop team going ahead here through the season.
Yeah. Before we talk about that, though, they recovered 4 fumbles. The defense did, so looked like it was a pretty good showing from them. And they held the Golden Bucks to 54 yards rushing. They did give up 231 yards passing, but the rush defense was really solid.
Their rush defense was amazing, and that's what they were worried about. They brought back three running backs. Bucksport did that. I think St. Hilaire said it had 1,800 yards and 27 touchdowns. in 2019, so he was nervous about how that would go. And the passing yards are a little inflated. They had a wide receiver on Bucksport that had a 79-yard touchdown and a 30-yard touchdown. It was a lot of one guy that he just couldn't drop. He was catching anything and everything, making diving plays, over the shoulder catches. He played really well, but their run defense was what they were focused in on, and they showed up against a big and tough in their own right Bucksport team.
Yeah, and Bucksport, they came back a little bit because it was 13-0 for Winthrop, and then Bucksport scored a couple of touchdowns, and it was 13-12, and right. Winthrop kind of pulled away in the second half, but that was Bucksport put up a fight in that first half, so they didn't go away very easily.
Nope, they made it 13-12, and they had all the momentum. It just, like their coach said, it just came back to turnovers, and they couldn't hold on to the ball. They had a few high snaps that went over the head of the quarterback, lost a couple of those, just forced fumbles on runs. It was a really impressive showing from the Winthrop defense. When there's a loose ball, they fell on it, and that was really the difference. They took over on that side, and they had enough weapons on offense to finish the job.
Yeah, so it's only one game, and it's been 2 years since teams have really played. And Class D is different this year because so many teams dropped down to 8-man football. But it seems like Winthrop, at the very least, announced itself as a contender in Class D this year. Because I know Lisbon's pretty young. Oak Hill seems like they lost some key players, but they also bring some back, and they always end up being pretty good. Oak Hill does. Who else? I think, especially the area team, seems like all the rest of them dropped down, unless I'm forgetting one.
Yeah, a lot of our area teams. Lisbon took a pretty big loss today. But Winthrop really showed they have a lot of young guys, but they showed that they have a whole lot of running attacks. I mean, they had one of their other running backs today ran a couple times at the end of the second half, but they just had him on defense today, and they had another guy kind of injured that they didn't really run, but name's RJ, and one of I think it was Trot that said RJ's a dog, and so we didn't really even get to see RJ the dog. Okay. So I'm excited to see how that goes, to see them grow. That offensive line proved itself against the team you would want it to prove itself against, really. And so I'm excited to see what they can do this year.
Yeah. And with so much youth throughout all of high school football, it seems like you can't make too many statements early in the season. It's going to be more about who is playing really well at the end. I mean, it always is, but it seems like there could be a lot of teams could grow a lot over the course of one season, because there's a lot of guys. Most of the players who are still playing this year were either sophomores or freshmen.
Right.
Last time there was tackle football, so it's hard to have a lot of experience.
It is hard. I can't pull myself into that trap of just claiming that they're young or haven't played in 2 years, because like every coach has told me, everyone else is going through the same thing. No one else played regular football last year. They're all trying to get a makeshift team. When I talked to Chris Cates for the Lisbon preview on our website here, he said that he just has a really inexperienced young team. That might actually be the truth, because numbers are going up and down for some teams. But yeah, if you look at Class D, our area, we've got Lisbon, young team. I think it might be a little bit of a down year for them.
Lisbon never really had a down year. Lisbon's like Oak Hill, like whatever you think they're going to do, right, they're going to do better.
I know. And Foxcroft usually scores a whole bunch of points and is usually pretty good. So maybe that's just them trying to figure out what they have. But Oak Hill has a whole lot of athletes. If I remember correctly from the information I got from the new coach there, and Poland, it'll be interesting to see what they have going numbers wise and then on the field wise. But I think Oak Hill and Winthrop should prove to be athletic and somewhat at the top of Class D. I would guess.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. Yeah, but then they've Class D is no longer divided into two different regions. It's all one region. So that's why Bucksport came to Winthrop and why Lisbon had to travel up to Foxcroft. That's kind of a tough way to start your season, especially when you've got young players without a lot of experience.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's kind of a rough start for Bucksport to have to do that. Although Bucksport has kind of done that in the past, I believe. I'm pretty sure they've did that a couple years ago. They came somewhere around here and opened this season, or maybe somebody went up there, but they're not afraid to do that kind of traveling. But going up to Foxcroft is kind of a rough start to the season.
Rough start, yeah.
And there's other games that
the Bucksport coach said he used to coach at Maine Maritime, so he's used to long bus rides. Okay. But he said they did what I did yesterday, trying to find their Winthrop's practice. It's been a couple of years. I'm out of the loop. I went to the Winthrop High School and tried to find their football team, and they play at the elementary school down the road. And Bucksport went to the high school, drove around, couldn't find any football field, and they finally found a guy in a pickup truck that told them where to go for the football game. So I felt pretty relatable right there. But it's a bit of a trip. They're not going to get. It's a tough way to start your season. But he said they were ready to go even with the bus ride down. So
yeah, I'm sure they'll be up there too. They'll be. When I've been here for 5 years, and football season was my first season in Maine, and so I found the grade school pretty quickly. But then when it came time to cover something else in the winter, I was like, where's Winthrop High School?
Right.
I didn't know where to go. And so, and I still think, like, when I have to go to Winthrop High School, I still think like, oh yeah, it's just over there. And then I pull up, I'm about to pull up to the grade school, and I realize, oh, it's not.
Yeah,
that's not where it is. Because that's, in my mind, that's where that is Winthrop, where Winthrop High School is. I love that field though. I love going to the games there. That's such a fun, like down in the hill, kind of the valley there. That's pretty great. I like that.
Yeah, it's a good atmosphere. They fill that hill. It was looking kind of iffy before the game because it was raining, but about 10 minutes before it started, the rain stopped and people filed in and kind of filled that hill. There's bleachers there. It was a good atmosphere. It was really fun.
Yeah, I like it there. That's one of my favorites, if not my favorite in our area. What about the other games? What kind of surprised you? It wasn't a very good day for anybody else in our coverage area.
No, our area kind of took a few losses. Spruce Mountain played Mount Ararat, and I was told before the game that Camden Phillip, their quarterback, was out with an injury.
Okay.
So Spruce, who only has one coach, David Fry, they don't have any assistants. He's learning 8-man on his own and trying to teach it to kids. They go into their first 8-man game of their school's career and go in without their starting quarterback that they plan to have. So tough way to start there, and they lost 42-12 to Mount Ararat.
Yeah, and Mount Ararat did really well the first year of football. So
right, and
did they win the championship? I thought
they did.
I think they did. I think they beat Maranacook, but I can't. It's been so long.
Yeah,
so much has happened since then.
So just a couple things. So honestly, maybe one of the worst ways to start for if you're Spruce.
Yeah, that was kind of a rough way for them to start because and Mount Ararat is a bigger school. It's played 8-man football and done really well, and Spruce is playing their first game. It's because it takes some adapting when you're used to doing it one way.
Right.
Entire life.
Yeah, that's what Brian Yana of Gray New Gloucester, the head coach, was telling me a couple of days ago. Is I mentioned Mountain Valley and Spruce Mountain starting 8-man this year, and he said that there's things that they're going to run into that they can only run into in a game and figure out then. So
Mhm.
They'll have some growing pains there, but Spruce is fast. They've got a lot of athletes, and that's what Fry was telling me and what he was excited about. So I'm sure they'll figure out the scoring, and if they can get Camden back, their quarterback, then maybe they can rack up some more points and a couple wins.
Yeah, especially in 8-man football, just like one player can make a big difference.
Yeah.
So that's not a great way. Did anything else surprise you about the scores today?
Um, Surprise, maybe the Lisbon score, losing to Foxcroft 33-16. I didn't think it was going to be, a 17-point loss, but here we are. I did pick Foxcroft just because Kate's told me about their inexperience and their young players. So, surprise and not a surprise. And also Lawrence beating Mount Blue 56-3. I didn't think that was going to be that big of a, gap in between the two teams. I haven't read anything on that game. I don't
Well, it
know
was
anything about that game.
I wasn't. I thought. I mean, it's not a big surprise that Lawrence won because it was at home and they're a good program. But yeah, Lawrence had a lot of big plays, especially early in the game, and they were just really good in all phases. There's like I think there's like a 90-yard touchdown run. There's like a 62-yard run, a 62-yard return for a touchdown. I think a punt return, and so they just everything was doing really well. Mount Blue's running attack was held back, so it's not a really good start for them. But I think it's also when you're such a young. I mean, everybody's young this year. Like a big start can be pretty demoralizing to a team that's trying to kind of figure out who it is, and so that and Mount Blue's coach Scott Franzosi, is that how you say it? Franzosi?
Yeah.
Okay. He said that that he doesn't think that Lawrence is 56-3 better than them. And so, but I mean, obviously Lawrence played an incredible game. And
if you
which he said that he just said like we probably should have done better is what he was saying. And so
you're right. You can come in and get three quick touchdowns scored on you like that. It can kind of be probably like a shell shock. And if you got young guys that haven't played a whole lot of varsity, then you can kind of be taken out of a game probably pretty quickly.
Yeah, because when you don't really know who you are, then you're like, because when you do know who you are, then if something happens, like some big plays happen, you can kind of fall back on, okay, this is how we get back into it. This is what we do. But with a young team, it's still learning. It's kind of like that happens, and then it's kind of hard not to say, well, how do we get back into this game? Because but I know Mount Blue sounds like they have a pretty good dual threat quarterback, Jaden Meter.
Good athlete.
And so they just got to figure out how to make that happen.
Right.
So not a great start for them. And then I think the only game we haven't talked about is Edward Little and Bonnie Eagle, and I thought Edward Little was ripe for an upset.
Yeah, true.
I mean, because there's like, if you look at the other sports last year, there's a lot of upsets, and like Gray New Gloucester was the 16th seed in baseball, and they pulled off a playoff win over the number 1 seed.
Right.
And so, I mean, and EL is Edward Little is coming off a rough 2019 season.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's, I don't know. I thought they were ready. I thought they'd be ready. I mean, but
no, it was a fair assumption by you.
Bonnie Eagle is obviously one of the best teams. I mean, the state championship, it's hard not to say like it's going to be Bonnie Eagle, Thornton Academy, or maybe Scarborough.
Yeah, throw Scarborough in there, right?
It's like those three all the time. And for like teams like Edward Little and Lewiston and Oxford Hills, pretty good programs. They just need to figure out a way to get into that, to break into that top 3 and become a 4th team, which I think they could do. It just, and so one of them I think will eventually do it.
Right. I mean, that's why I'm excited about Oxford Hills at Lewiston tomorrow.
Yeah.
Those two programs, two coaches that are really excited about their futures, immediate futures too. Mark Soren, the coach of Oxford Hills, he was telling me this offseason that last year would have been the team for him that probably could have challenged the Bonnie Eagles and the Scarboroughs and thrown themselves up and near that upper echelon, I guess. But both teams are excited about their teams, their groups, and I think we'll learn a little bit tomorrow when those two kind of clash. I think that might be one of the better matchups we have in our coverage area. Gray New Gloucester made a game of Lake Region on Thursday, lost 30-22. Hung around, kept coming back.
I think they even led. I think they weren't they ahead 22-14.
Yeah, I think they actually
saw
were.
that.
And then so they've got a good thing going, and they're really confident over there. But I'm excited about tomorrow night's game, Oxford Hills at Lewiston. Try to go there. It's at 7:00 if you're around.
Yeah, I think that's a really good matchup, and those two teams seem to be heading in the right direction. I mean, I think Oxford Hills is where they're good. They're not kind of trying to come back to prominence like Lewiston is, and even kind of Edward Little is a little bit. But I think the thing with Oxford Hills, and I don't know anything about this year's team, but I think one thing they have more of than what I've seen Edward Little and Lewiston have is just these huge linemen, just like these big,
they've grown
guys.
big in areas.
And so I think that helps too, especially if they want to get into that upper echelon of tiny Class A. So yeah, I don't know if they have this year, but they always just have these big linemen, like plenty. I mean, all the schools do, but they seem to have not a never-ending supply, but they just like have more and more guys they can just plug in, and every year it's a new set of linemen.
Yep.
And then they always seem to have a good running back, and their quarterback play has gotten, seems like, progressively better. Maybe not. I mean, it's hard to get as good as Colton Carson was, but they've started to have solid quarterbacking every year.
Atticus was strong a couple of years ago. I'm excited to see how Eli is. They have, you're right, Wyatt Knightley at running back. That'll be fun to see. And they have Isaiah Ofiro at linebacker and tight end. And Mark said that he's probably the leader of the team. And linebacker is kind of one of the places you'd want your captain, your leader at. So
and they've Oxford Hills has always been pretty good in the weight room too, and I think that's an important thing, especially I was talking about the linemen. Like, not only are they big, but their team overall has some strength because they work on it, and that's one thing that Darren Hartley's been building at Lewiston is
they've been getting
more a lot more stuff, a lot more action in the weight room. So I think they're kind of heading up, but I don't know. But so that could be a really good game. But I always think like Edward Little just seems like they always like find a way to make it work. And I know like 2 years ago was not, I think they were 0-8. So maybe, but they, I think that they're, their coaches always know what they're doing, and they always seem to find like some really, really, really good skill players on both sides of the ball. And then their offensive line is always pretty good too. So, but I think also if there wasn't for the strange Class A alignment, how it is with 8 teams, and 3 of those teams are really, really good. And then you have Oxford Hills and Lewiston to play against. Like Edward Little wouldn't have gone in a normal year, or the old normal, they wouldn't have gone 0-8. I'm pretty sure they just, they were just a team that wasn't as ready for everything as the other ones.
Yeah, you run into down years, and also they're in a real tough class. But Jack Keefe, the quarterback, good athlete. See how he does over the year. I think EL had a few close losses last year too, so that just found themselves on the wrong side of that. But I think that's it for our teams. You know, we had teams across the state had cancellations. Levitt was supposed to rematch MCI tonight. That didn't happen. They hopefully play next week against Herman, who also didn't have a game this week because of COVID protocols and quarantine. So we will hopefully see Levitt next week. We have Telstar at Trape tomorrow, also in our area.
Yeah, I'm excited about that one. I'm excited to see how Telstar is this year, because I know they had a lot of fun playing 8-man football, and that was kind of one of the success stories of 8-man. Was a program that's had a hard time just fielding a team. 8-man's perfect for them. I think. I mean, I don't love having like Cheverus and Mount Ararat playing 8-man football. I think that's not who it should be for.
Exactly.
But those programs also, even though they are huge, they're not. Those schools are huge. They're not. Their program is not. They've had a hard time getting players, so it's good. But I think the overall like ideal for 8-man football
is the Telstars.
Like Telstar will probably be 8-man football for as long as Maine offers 8-man football. Hopefully, Mount Ararat and Cheverus can go back. You know, they can build other programs and move up back to 11-man football. But so Telstar, really cool. And a team that I can't even remember how long it had been since they'd won a varsity game, but it was like a few years. And so they won a few. I think they won 3 or 4 games, and really, really fun following them.
Yeah, I went up there for a story in 2019. Yeah, they went 3-5. I had to go get
3-5. Okay, yeah, I think they won 3 in a row. And
yeah, they did. And then I went and talked to them after their 3rd win, and I jinxed it.
No, you didn't. No.
But they were fun to talk to. They were really excited up there. They have a good thing going, and so you're right. Trape's another team that I think has been doing 8-man the whole time, and it should be interesting to see how they stack up, because I think if they can bring back some of the guys and be ready to go, the coach seems excited about it. The players were really excited about it. So I'll be interested to see how that score plays out tomorrow.
So Telstar only lost 1 player. Is that from last year? I know they didn't really play football last year, but
yeah, it must have been.
Or was it from 2 years ago? Like, did they really only lose that 1 player from two years ago?
I can go check my story and the guys I talked to.
I know they still have that one guy, Braden. I wish I could remember his last name now. Braden.
Stevens.
Yeah, I think it was Stevens. He made some good plays and some big touchdowns last year or 2 years ago for them. I think they lost their quarterback, right? I think.
Yeah, Davin Mason. And if you look at their preview from 2019, Davin Mason's a junior. So last year he would have been a senior, and so
okay,
that's who they lost. Tim O'Connor didn't really send too much information on his team, but it looks like he would have been a senior last year, and so that's why they lost him. But they still have Braden Stevens, who's a running back and will be a senior this year, and that's got to just be huge to have somebody that on the team that's been around, was playing in 2019, and has seen this program kind of grow a little bit in 8-man. That's almost invaluable to have on your team.
Yeah, that's a big thing for them. Because like we said, in 8-man, that 1 player can make a big difference. I think especially in the small school classification of 8-man, when there's not as much to pull from. So, but I think they had a few good players, it's hard to say which ones are all back. But was that they only had 1 junior 2 years ago? Is that right? Or
that's what they had on the 2019 preview. It didn't look like Randy Whitehouse got too much from Coach O'Connor either, but he lists 4 newcomers, and he lists 5 or 6 returning athletes here. So
that's pretty good then. They got some good. They should have some good talent coming back from 2 years ago.
Yep.
So that's really cool. That'll be fun to see. So I guess Poland's not playing this week, huh?
It doesn't look it. Doesn't have Poland. It has Poland at Bucksport next week on the Varsity Maine page.
Okay.
So-
I've been so busy that I haven't really studied the schedule very much this year.
No, yeah,
so.
I haven't seen any news on their game being canceled, but there's been a whole lot of wonky things going on with COVID, and then buses games getting moved to tomorrow, ref things.
Yeah.
That's why Gray played on Thursdays, because they wanted to help the refs out, because there's a referee shortage. So they tried to make sure their game could get in and get refs. So they played it on Thursday night. So
Yeah.
some weird things going on. So that's a heck of a way to start your season at Bucksport for a Poland team. But we'll see how it goes. We'll see where they stack up against a decent Bucksport team, who I think by the end of the season will find itself and be near the top of Class D. They played tough